Fun fact: Francis Ford Coppola wanted Johnny Depp to play Keanu Reeves' character in Dracula, but the studio insisted that Reeves was a much more popular actor at the time. That may have been true then, but for the longest time, it was just the opposite. It wasn't until just recently that Keanu Reeves became popular again, and it was around that exact same time that Johnny Depp decided to fade into obscurity. Now, I'm not a huge Johnny Depp fan myself, but I'm sure anything would have been better than this.
Yes, sir. I will give it my full attention.
But I will be getting into that more in depth later. Anyway, welcome to my special Halloween themed review. Now, I honestly don't know what to think about this. Dracula isn't really a bad movie, but there's so many weird things that happen alongside some really awful acting that it comes off more as a comedy than a horror. And before I go on, yes, I know it's technically called Bram Stoker's Dracula, but Letterboxd just calls it Dracula, so I'm gonna be calling it that too. Now, anyway, Dracula is not a scary movie. I don't know what kind of movie it is. All I know is that it's special. And I think this is the perfect movie to watch around Halloween, and you can watch it with your friends and laugh at it. But, it also has a bunch of things that can be appreciated. Like I said, it's special. I can't place my finger on exactly what makes it so special. It's really a mix of a bunch of things, I guess. In fact, the story itself is rather simple, but everything else around it makes it so much fun to watch. And, well, I guess I'll start with Keanu Reeves.
Bloody wolves chasing me through some blue inferno.
Oh my gosh, who the heck thought this would ever work? Keanu Reeves doing an English accent. There's so much wrong with this.
I brought him there. To Carfax Abbey.
Can we all just agree that Keanu Reeves is not a good actor? Or at least that he wasn't at the time. I haven't seen John Wick, so he could be amazing for all I know, but I haven't exactly been impressed by what I've seen from those movies. Anyway, he sucks in this. He sucks in The Matrix. He sucks in Much Ado About Nothing. My class had to watch Much Ado About Nothing for English, and everyone spent the whole time laughing at Keanu Reeves' pathetic face instead of, paying attention to the movie. And he sucks in whatever this movie is. I get that he's a nice guy in real life, but as an actor, it's his job to act, and you're supposed to be good at your job. I don't know.
To Carfax Abbey.
Anyway, I could go on, but this just speaks for itself. Besides, while Keanu is definitely the worst actor in the movie, he's not the only bad one. Winona Ryder is also in this, and she sucks as well, though the fact that she's a million times better than him kind of makes her look great. Just like Keanu, she was not the right fit to play an English character. And the only other thing I've seen her in is Star Trek, where she plays Spock's mom, so I can't really comment on her acting talent outside of this movie. All I can say is that she is not good, and she has absolutely no chemistry with Keanu, and somehow the two ended up starring together in 3 other movies. So 3 different casting directors thought they were good enough in this to co-star 3 more times, and they were only able to get Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins back together once. Which leads me to the good actors in the film. I would first like to give a shout out to Wesley. As you wish. For being American and being able to pull off an English accent. This guy, I don't know the actor's name, goes full cowboy, so they clearly weren't completely against having Americans doing, their own accents. Richard E. Grant is also in this, and he's fine, I guess, but he's Marlon Brando compared to a couple of specific actors. And Anthony Hopkins is amazing. There's nothing specifically that makes him a good actor. He just is. He's great in everything. He's even great in Transformers. He can star in literally anything, and it will earn at least a few points for having a good actor in it. The second Hopkins showed up, I gave out a big sigh of relief because I needed him. It was already a whole hour into the film, and the film had already been almost completely bogged down by these two.
All right.
So adding another fantastic actor to the mix was 100% necessary. But of course, the real standout is Gary Oldman.
Welcome to my home.
Oh man, where do I begin? The fact that he was able to act alongside Keanu Reeves and not burst out laughing should have earned him the Oscar right then and there. Who did win the Oscar anyway? Al Pacino? Psh, nobody cares about that guy. Anyway, Oldman plays like 5 different characters in the movies, even though they're all technically the same guy. And I have no choice but to talk about all of them. First is the most famous one, the old beehive hair version. I was surprised by how little this version was in the actual movie, based on how much it gets parodied. I think this version is definitely my favorite because the makeup, alongside Oldman's performance, really sells the vibe of a creepy old guy who's actually menacing. While I personally wasn't scared by this version is definitely the most creepy, and that includes some of the other versions I will be talking about. The version that appears the most in the movie is the version that's basically just Gary Oldman with a wig, but he totally sells it in a different way. This version is incredibly seductive and charming, and I'm sure all the ladies would fall head over heels for it. This depiction of Count Dracula was, I'll say, an unorthodox choice, but it worked out well because the regular version had been, and still has been, done to death. Now for the weird versions. If you found out weird that he could shapeshift from an old man to a young man, you haven't seen anything yet. Instead of including werewolves in the movie, they just decide to give Dracula the ability to just turn into a wolf. But even in wolf form, he's still a vampire because he's able to bite Winona Ryder's friend, and she eventually becomes a vampire herself. Spoilers, by the way, in case you care, even though the fact that you made it this far probably means you don't. He honestly looks more like a gorilla or a bear than a wolf, but I guess it was a stylistic choice. Later on in the film, he turns into a weird bat creature thing. But this only lasts one scene where Anthony Hopkins tries to kill him or something, and then he turns into a bunch of rats. And he can also turn into purple mist for some reason. In fact, there's a whole bunch of weird and random stuff that happens in this movie, and it's just too funny to not talk about. There's the shot of a woman falling, and it's superimposed onto her suicide note. There's whatever the heck this is supposed to be. These asylum guards wear boxes on their heads. For a few minutes, the movie turns into a Jane Austen adaptation, where Winona Ryder and her friend just talk about guys and how much they love them and stuff for a few minutes, and then it starts raining, and then the two randomly decide to become lesbians. There's a scene of rats running upside down. When Winona Ryder's friend turns into a vampire, she just happens to be wearing a necklace made of garlic, as if that was ever a thing. It might have been a thing. I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. Later on, we see Dracula crying, and his tears are purple. And then he turns into this monstrosity and this version of him is never seen ever again. And also, for some reason, Keanu Reeves is rapidly aging. Oh, and Anthony Hopkins throws a snake onto a cross surrounded by candles for some reason. Anyway, now for what I thought was the weirdest part of the movie. There's this whole scene where Anthony Hopkins is trying to protect Winona Ryder, who had just recently been bitten by a specific vampire. She decides to use her vampire seduction powers on him, and they snog it out, making him like the fourth person she snogs in the film. Dracula's gypsies just randomly show up and try to take her, but he creates a ring of fire around them, and they go away. The next morning, he just nonchalantly goes into their sleeping quarters, and he cuts off their heads and throws them off a cliff. I thought that was kind of lazy, a lazy way to get rid of those characters. I don't think they contributed anything to the story, so you could have easily just not had them in the movie and it would have been fine. But I don't know. Again, is probably a stylistic choice. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this movie is the ending. I have mixed feelings regarding how this movie ended. I was hoping it would end with Dracula winning and the good guys all losing, but instead Dracula just gets killed. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh no, they're gonna give us a schmaltzy ending with Winona Ryder getting back with Keanu and everyone lives happily ever after." But instead, it just ended right there and then, and I ended up being satisfied with the ending. Winona Ryder mourns the death of Dracula, whose love for him had steadily grown throughout the film, and it was actually a good ending. So, while Dracula lacks in the horror department, it's honestly still a good movie that partially fails on a technical level with some bad acting and really dated effects. But the story, however, is actually pretty well developed with some admittedly goofy moments sprinkled throughout. But hey, what can you do? It's art, and art can be weird at times. Hey guys, I hope you liked the video. I know I've been kind of inconsistent with these review videos, but I'm gonna try to be doing them a lot more now. Um, yeah, please subscribe if you do. That'd be a big help. I really need it. I mean, just viewing the video is a big help to my channel right now. I'm hoping to grow. I know that won't happen for a long time, but anything you do will help. So, again, thanks for watching, and hope you like the video.